Oh, this story is tough, man. This is a tough story. 23-year-old woman who is trapped in the body of an 8-year-old girl introduces her parents to a new love interest after revealing their fears she would attract pedophiles because of her childlike appearance. Yo, when they say this 23-year-old woman is trapped in the body of an 8-year-old girl, they are not lying. This 23-year-old woman literally is just like an 8-year-old girl. And it sucks. It really does. There's a guy who's apparently dating her. And here's the crazy element of this story that I really want to get your thoughts on in the comments because this is tough. Yo, I'm sorry. Dating this woman who looks like a little girl, I think this guy's probably a pedo. There's no way around it. I'm not trying to be mean to him or insult him or anything. This woman's 23. She deserves life, love, liberty, happiness, and all that stuff. But, yo, she's in the body of an 8-year-old girl. So, like, how do you navigate this, right? How do you navigate that this woman, her name's Shauna Ray Lessick. She got a TV show, I guess, on TLC. She's got, I guess, a genetic issue that kept her body the size of an 8-year-old, like a third grader. But she's 23, legal adult, works at a bar, is entitled to anything life has to offer, certainly wants love and a relationship, but they even fear that any dude who wants to be with her is going to be a pedo. How do you navigate that? Because I got to be honest, I'm not trying to be mean to this woman. I think, she deserves a full life, but I only see a child when I look at her, and there ain't no way I assume most people I know would want to be in a relationship with her. And that's the hard thing. It's not her fault. You know what I mean? I forgot what the ailment is called. I guess they'll explain it. But let me know what you think about this. Like, how does someone like this navigate this? How does this guy who's dating her, he like saw her on the show, he reached out to her, now they're, I guess, dating. But even the family was scared that whoever did this was going to be a pedo. Anyway, let me read the story and explain it for you because this is a tough one. A 23-year-old woman who is looking for love while stuck in the body of an 8-year-old girl has introduced her parents to a potential new partner after he slid into her direct messages. At 3 feet 10 inches tall, Shauna Ray Lessick is the average height of a third grader and weighs just 50 pounds. Her stunted growth is a side effect of brain cancer treatment as an infant, and she is frequently mistaken for a child. She has previously been candid about the unique dating struggles she faced as a result of her condition, once revealing her parents' fears that she would attract pedophiles because of her childlike appearance. But in a recent episode of her TLC reality series, I Am Shauna Ray, the reality star took a big leap forward in love, opening up about how she connected with 26-year-old Dan Swigert, a traveler from Wales who reached out to her and sent her flowers after watching the first season of the show. Question: what are your thoughts on Dan Swigert? It's brutal, man. I'm sorry. You just got to say it. I got to be real. I feel bad in that these are two adults of comparable age. I'm 23 and 26. He digs her. Maybe it's her personality. But is anyone going to take his word for it? Yo, watch. When you watch a clip from this show, like this woman, Shauna Ray, it's not her fault she had brain cancer and had to get treatment, and then it stunted her growth and kept her trapped this way. But she even sounds like a little kid.
Friendship.
I'm not really irritated by my family when they bring up those future questions. I haven't talked about it with Dan. I'm kind of letting it go as it may. But it's nice to kind of try to see if he can answer it. Why do we have to label anything?
So it's a question mark or
it is whatever happens, happens.
Okay.
Imagining your average woman having that conversation. Are you dating? It is what it is. Whatever happens, happens. And you're like, it's totally normal. I don't fault this woman for having brain cancer, but I was reading this story and I was just like, I don't know if this is something you can actually navigate. Like the general idea is, I don't see any circumstance where anyone would believe this guy is not a pedophile. Like he's attracted to a 23-year-old woman, but looks and sounds like a third grader, like an 8-year-old. I suppose there's also the question that arises about little people in general. I think that's the appropriate term. I try not to be. I try to be respectful. I try not to be disrespectful to people. But people who have dwarfism or other height related I don't know. I'm trying to be nice. But people who are short, they call them little people. Most of the time, when you see someone who is a little person, they're discernibly adults. You know, like they'll have a beard, they'll be discernibly adult. They'll have certain features about them where you're like, I can tell this person is an adult. They're just smaller, shorter arms or whatever. But in this instance, this is a unique circumstance. So they go on to mention this. Dan apparently, they say, Dan came to visit Shauna. He came over to her house to make sushi rolls. She introduced him to her mother and stepfather. Shauna has been candid about how her parents are worried she'll attract pedos. She was 6 months old when she was diagnosed with an aggressive brain tumor. She had surgery and underwent 3 years of chemotherapy. While the treatment was successful, it rendered her pituitary gland almost dormant, stunting her growth. I wonder if they couldn't have given her hormones to allow her to grow. She grew another 8 inches with the help. Okay, never mind. It's right there. She grew another 8 inches with the help of synthetic hormone injections. But when she was 16, her doctor told her that her bones had fused and she wasn't going to grow anymore. She was just a few inches shy of 4 feet. Patty wanted to know if they were more than friends and how often they talk, which Dan said was almost daily at that point. I'm not really irritated by my family when they bring up those future questions. I haven't talked about it with Dan. I'm kind of letting it go as it may, but it's nice kind of to try and see if he can answer it. Can he answer it? I was brave with this dude. I gotta be honest. Going on TV, how he's gonna have to explain that, I suppose. Shauna admitted that she's not sure what's in store for her and Dan in the future because she's apprehensive about starting a long distance relationship. I haven't actually thought about if Dan and I were in a relationship and how that would look. I assume that we would probably try long distance, but I've been in a long distance relationship. It's not my cup of tea. You guys ever see that movie, Interview with the Vampire? Awesome movie. Kirsten Dunst, when she was a little kid, played the role of a little kid who gets turned into a vampire. She becomes an immortal, but she can never age. She is permanently trapped as a child. And that's actually a component of the film where she's like, why can't I grow up? It's torture to be trapped as a kid. And she wants to experience love and life and be an adult, but she can't. Man, I could not imagine. That's absolutely brutal. So, I mean, another question for you, like, what do you think about how she must feel knowing that fear that anybody she might date might just be a CREEPO? Man, not an easy story, right? And the other thing, too, is she works at a bar, apparently. It looks like a brewery of some sort. She bartended a charity event. I got to say, like, I feel bad for this woman. I mean, I can't imagine what it must be like. She goes out. She tries to go to a bar. They tell her, you can't come in. You're a kid. She shows an ID. They say, are you kidding me? Will they even take her at her word? I couldn't imagine trying to navigate society in such a position. And I'll be honest. That's why, like, I've never been a fan of discrimination in any capacity. People view you as one way and then deny you services. That's got to suck. She goes to a bar with her friends and they're like, you can't bring your kid in here. She goes, imagine going to a casino. Oh man, talk about brutal. They probably got to call the casino in advance. I talk about this because I go to the casino, fairly often. Call them in advance and say, look, we got an individual who had cancer and was stunted. They appear to be a small child. They are not. And what if the casino just goes like, we don't care. We don't want to take the risk of you bringing a child in here. Oh, you got your 8-year-old an ID? There's always the other angle when it comes to the business stuff about discrimination based on medical disability. And then you get a tough position. Look, this guy's dancing with her. I remember seeing this story a while ago because they have a TV show and a lot of people have talked about it. But ain't nobody seeing anything other than a man dancing with a child. When this guy goes out, he's paddleboarding with her. It just looks like a dude with his kid. For real. And again, I know, I'll say it. I feel bad for this 23-year-old woman. It's not her fault this happened to her, and she deserves life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and all of that stuff. But I don't know how you navigate this one, man. I don't know how you navigate this one. Certainly something that I thought we'd have to talk about. Considering everything we've seen with like the groomer stuff, and there's another really shocking story that we'll talk about probably in the members. There's no members only section tonight. That's Friday. But there's a story about like these two, gay dudes who are seriously abusing their kids, and these are horrible stories. Considering it's such a big conversation right now, I'm like, let's throw this in the mix. Shauna Rae has done nothing wrong. She wants love. She deserves it. But how do you have it? It's a scary thought, It's probably impossible because this guy's got to be attracted to what looks like children, right? She noted she would either have to settle down somewhere or start traveling with him. He'd already asked her to go to Malaysia with him to be his +1 at a wedding. Dan taking Shauna out of the country, I think would be really cool. I think she'd have a good time. I'm not so sure about that, her mother chimed in. Shauna called them both bold-faced liars, insisting they would never let her leave the country with him. The visit ended with Dan visiting her while she bartended a charity event. They shared an awkward slow dance before he left. I'm sure that I'll see Dan again. She told the cameras he's coming back. Yo, sad reality. If she leaves the country with him, ain't nobody going to respect that she's actually a 23-year-old woman. It's not going to happen. So look, man, I wish y'all the best. But again, I'm really interested in what you guys think about this, because there's an issue of individual rights. There's an issue of medical disability. There's an issue of, is this guy a creep? But anyway, I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up in a few minutes. Stick around. I'll see y'all shortly.